My close college friend has stopped talking to me because of one well-intended comment I made. My closest friend from undergrad has had a hard life with a lot of family issues. She has suffered from anxiety and depression herself, but has been a good friend and is a kind person. We live in opposite parts of the country. She's not always been the one to initiate conversations, but I understand that not everyone is as proactive when it comes to texting. In 2020, around COVID, I had a baby. She was happy for me. A year or two into COVID, I noticed she was just not responding to my texts very much. I tried a few times. I gave it time in case she was going through more crap. She let me know in fall 2022 that she was going through crazy things at work and in her life. The last time we talked was fall 2022. She told me that she had been having trouble getting pregnant. I felt bad for her. At this same time, my husband and I had tried getting pregnant for 6 months. I had to get a procedure done at the fertility doctor which unclogged my tubes, and we had just gotten pregnant a month thanks to this doc before this chat. After she told me about her fertility issues, I empathized and told her I understood how hard it was. I told her I had just been through the extremely uncomfortable procedure where they flushed my tubes, and that we had also had 6 months of negative tests. I told her that I had just gotten my positive pregnancy test, I was maybe 8 weeks, and that I know how hard it is trying every month. I did not rub this in her face. I wanted to share that we also had just been to the fertility doctor, like her, and that we had luck in their specialty and them diagnosing what was wrong above and of scope of work. Apparently this was the big issue that pissed her off. Through the following fall and winter, she didn't reply much and was a bit quiet. I didn't think much of it. In the summer, before this call, I had invited her to visit my family, but she ignored this invitation via text to X. In hindsight, she was having a hard time at work and with getting pregnant. I texted her after my baby was born in early spring this year. She congratulated me, but it was very short. The next time I texted her a few months later, she didn't respond, so I followed up and asked if she was okay, etc. She let me know that she understands I was trying to be empathetic, but that wasn't how she took it when I told her my pregnancy news. She said it hurt her that she opened up about her fertility issues, and in the same chat I told her I was pregnant. I considered her one of my best 3 friends. My perspective here is that I would have told her soon anyway. I was not rubbing this in her face. I was telling her to be empathetic since we had issues also and were able to find help through specialists. What was I supposed to do? Not tell her? When would have been a good time? The next week. She let me know she had to step away from our friendship at the time BC she was upset that I shared this news in the same chat. I've tried apologizing and reaching out, but she hasn't responded. I am devastated BC, she is one of my closest friends. I want to add that we were in each other's weddings, I planned her small bachelorette, our spouses were friends, I helped her husband plan their engagement, and I was there for her when her now husband and her briefly split up. We have a lot of history here and it has been entirely positive. I like to think I have a little insurance in the bank. Any suggestions on how to proceed or win her back? I recognize that her issues might be too deep for me to get through since we don't live nearby, but this friendship is too important to me not to fight for it. Comment. Every woman I know that has had trouble getting pregnant has become irrational and uber sensitive if others get pregnant or get the thing they want. I wish it was a one-off, but I've seen multiple women lose their shit when other friends got pregnant and they did not. As weird as it is to say, I think this is normal behavior. She looks at you and sees what she wishes she had. Give her some space. I think she'll come back around. Check in every month or so, but don't bring up your children. She'll heal and come around. It may take a while, but she will. Unfortunately, this isn't something you can achieve by fighting for it. No matter how unfairly you feel you're being treated, she doesn't owe you her friendship, and that's something you just have to accept. It's not really about your intentions, or your reasons for saying it, or your apology, it's about her not wanting to be friends right now, which is her right. You're not going to win her back by continuing to send texts she doesn't reply to or harassing her with apologies. If anything, that will only reinforce her negative feelings about you. I agree that you did nothing wrong, it was risky to tell and risky to not tell, given how close you were. But it truly doesn't matter. There is no judge handing down verdicts in friend fights. What matters is that she has articulated a boundary to you, and if you do actually care about her as much as you say you do, you'll respect that she doesn't want to talk to you right now. Step back. Give her space. Don't keep checking in. If she wants to reconnect, she will reach out. Show her you care by respecting her wishes. I don't think give her space exists in your playbook, unfortunately. This poor woman has tried to be subtle and has had to tell you directly she needs to step away from the friendship, but you won't take no for an answer. You're determined to burn the bridge to the ground and then wonder what went wrong. Next story 2. My boyfriend has been secretly adding/talking to girls on Snapchat. Not sure what to do. Our 4-year anniversary was at the beginning of this month. Generally speaking, everything has been great until lately. We've lived together for 2 years now, we have made it clear what our future goals are, both together and independently, and he's made it clear to me that he wants to marry me. He calls me his wife a lot even though we're not even engaged. We get along super well, and our life could not be much better than it is. Anyways, the week before our anniversary I noticed some behavior changes. The first I noticed was that he wasn't being as clingy as he usually is. Not as lovey with me. I'm not sure how to exactly word it. But the main change I noticed is that he would not leave his phone alone. He usually left it on the desk, but now it's always on him, and he never leaves it alone with me. One day I was beside him and he was showing me a video. Suddenly someone's name popped up, I didn't see who, but he quickly pulled his phone away, turned it off and changed the subject. Later that day, I checked his Snapchat and noticed that it wasn't his friend who messaged him. The most recent was me. So I went to his recent searches and I found a handful of girls he had added, none of which added him back. I know I shouldn't have, but I removed them. He can't ask me about it without admitting what he did anyways. Since then, things seemed like they were getting better. He was back to his usual self around me, and after a few more checks on his Snapchat I didn't notice anything suspicious. Until this week. He was back to behaving strange with me, hiding his phone, giving me less kisses, and we only had sex once last week, which is odd considering it's typically 3 to 6 nights a week for us. Last night before we went to lay down, he went to get a glass of water and he left his phone. So I checked his Snapchat and I see this girl that he had sent something to a day ago. She never opened it, and she wasn't even on his Snap before. I opened the chat to see if anything else had been said, since I'll never know what he snapped her, and there was a saved conversation from 2019, before we started dating. I didn't read it all, but he had sent her a paragraph that started with "You are such an amazing girl." And her only saved response was. So to me, it seems like he had a past with this girl. To me that's almost worse than him adding random girls. I removed her from his Snap as well. He hasn't said anything about it, if he's noticed at all. But he tried to initiate sex after that and I was just so turned off at this point, but went with it. This might be TMI, so take that as you will, but at one point he kissed me and said "You're all mine," which is something that he says a lot, but I had to hold back tears while having sex because I was honestly still in shock from what I read. Afterwards I was on Reddit for a bit and he asked if there was anything good I was reading, and I made up a story and told him that someone left their fiancée because she found out he was talking to a bunch of girls and hiding it and then denied it when asked. I went on a mini rant and told him even though it's not physically cheating, it's still technically cheating. I'd be so pissed if you ever did something like that. I looked him dead in the eyes and he immediately changed the subject to our pet who was doing something silly in the other room. He hasn't been on Snapchat all day until he was at work because I was bringing him lunch after the gym. Since he has started his shift, he has told me he loves me, over text, like maybe 3 or 4 times, which is odd, so I'm assuming he noticed that she was removed. A part of me wants to let it go because he can have female friends, but he doesn't need to hide it. That's what makes me think it's something more. But he'd never physically cheat on me, I know that for sure. I don't know what changed that made him want to start talking to other girls. I don't know if he's bored of me or annoyed, or if it's an ego thing. I don't know if I did anything that made him switch up. But this is definitely making me feel replaceable, like I'm not enough. I'm worried if I bring it up he might find better ways to hide it. Like make a new account or something. I do have an issue with overthinking though, so I'm trying not to overthink the situation. How can I explain to him that what he's doing is wrong? Is there anything I can do to try and stop him from continuing this? Any advice is welcome and appreciated. Comment. You need to stop going on his phone and deleting the evidence for him. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What you should have done was gone on his phone, taken screenshots of what you saw, and then confronted him about it. Instead, what you're doing is essentially telling him, it's okay if you keep doing this, because if you do it again I'll just log into your Snapchat and delete any evidence of these girls. I won't ever give you any real consequences. You'll just have to find more girls to around with behind my back. Smiley face. If you truly want to marry this asshole, sit him down and tell him in no uncertain terms that you've seen the girls he's been adding. You saw the message from the girl from 2019. You know that he's been sneaking around behind your back. See what his response is. Does he get defensive and say he's not doing it? Does he apologize and say he won't ever do it again? Would you believe him if he did, since he did it a second time already? Like, you know these girls aren't just female friends. So what are you going to do about it?